Welcome back, guys. I don't know how to start this video off, so who cares? Let's just do it. Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Margot, and this is Show and Tel Aviv, where in every episode, I show you something about life in Tel Aviv and tell you what you need to know about it. And in this week's video, I am going to be sharing some of my most controversial hot takes about life in Israel, particularly in 2026. And I'm going to be reacting to some of your craziest hot takes. I asked you guys over on Instagram, what is your most controversial opinion about making aliyah or living in Israel? And you did not disappoint. Some of these are absolutely unhinged. Some of them I feel the same way. There's a lot of overlap. By getting to hear some of these hot takes, a lot of my Instagram audience are fellow Olim, but I left the question open to everyone. So it's Israelis and Olim really sharing their honest opinions. And I think if you're considering aliyah, or if you live here already, or maybe you're new to aliyah and to Israel, you might even get some helpful tips and advice from this. Or they might just piss you off. So here are my hot takes, gathered from years, a decade plus of experience living here. Number one, and I will preface this by saying my Hebrew is not perfect by any means. It is not cute, it is not a flex, and it is not cool to not learn Hebrew if you make aliyah to Israel. And one thing that has been becoming very apparent to me with the rise of AI and also just technology in general, when I first made aliyah, when I came to Israel for the first time in 2011, a lot of the technology that we have now didn't exist. Yeah, we had Google Translate, but we didn't have Wolt. You couldn't just get on your phone, translate the app, order your food, contactless ordering. You used to have to call up the restaurants, learn the phrases that you needed to order your food, etc. We also used to have the monit shirut in Tel Aviv, and that was like a big van, and it was a ride share, and you would hail it, and you used to have to ask the fellow passengers to pass your money up. It was all cash. You have to ask the driver to stop. Olim today, if you are making aliyah in 2026, or basically in the last 5 years since the monit shirut just disappeared from Tel Aviv, you have no idea. You wouldn't survive. But anyways, the point I'm making is that technology has made it really easy to get by without learning Hebrew. And especially in a city like Tel Aviv, where so many people speak English, and Israelis want to practice their English the second that they see you. If they hear you speak Hebrew with an accent, they'll immediately switch, and that can really discourage people from learning Hebrew because they get embarrassed. It is not cute to not know Hebrew. If you are committing to immigrating to another country and being a part of the soul of that country and the culture and participating in a meaningful, valuable way, you have to learn Hebrew. It does not have to be perfect. You do not necessarily have to know Hebrew before you make aliyah. I didn't know a single word of Hebrew, but by golly, I have busted my ass. Yeah, it's easier to speak in English. Yes, sometimes I do express myself in English, but you better don't not learn Hebrew. It's not cute. It's not fun. It's going to make your experience here, it's like cutting it in half. It's just not going to be as full if you are not able to understand the world around you. Which brings me to my next hot take. It is not okay in 2026, in a post-October 7th world and reality, to not understand what is happening with Israeli politics and all of the things that are enmeshed in that anymore. If I hear one more person, either from the diaspora or an Ola or Ole, say,
I don't really know anything about Israeli politics. It's just too complicated. I can't understand it.
You better learn, because if you think that those things don't impact you, or that you can just skate by in this country without understanding how much politics impact every single aspect of our lives here, you might as well get on a flight and go back to the US. And here's what I want to say about that. I'm not saying that in the US you can be disconnected from politics. I don't think in any reality in the world we're living in 2026 that you can be disconnected from politics. But here in Israel, it is such a small country and we are only like 9-10 million people or something like that. And politics is woven into everything. And I know that that might sound intimidating, and it is, okay? I'm not sitting here saying that you need to know every single thing about Israeli politics, but you need to be aware of what is going on because it impacts society and culture and cost of living. I mean, I shouldn't have to explain how important politics are. I don't have time for people who go, I'm just not a political person. Respectfully, you have the smoothest brain if you talk like that. If you're probably the type of person that consults ChatGPT for everything. If you're the type of person that says,
I'm just not that political. Why is everything so political?
I can't. So I really encourage you. I know it's intimidating, and it honestly has taken me a long time to orient myself with Israeli politics. I am not a political scientist. I am not an expert, but for the most part, I can tell you what is going on big picture in this country right now and how it impacts life day to day. I'm not telling you who to vote for, what to believe, but I'm telling you, you better get your act together. We have elections coming up, and part of being a citizen in a country, especially if you are a woman and you don't vote, girl. Girl. Bye. Bye. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. Okay? Not telling you what to believe, not telling you who to vote for, not telling you any of that. Educate yourself, especially because you have no excuse not to. You don't. You're illiterate. You're watching this video with an internet connection. That's all you need, babe. Just figure it out. Research it. I shouldn't have to, explain that, but apparently I do, because there's a lot of people who are really out of touch, especially Olim. And you can't afford to be out of touch when it comes to the politics of this country anymore. It's too serious. It's always been that serious. That's my take, okay? It's not cute not to know Hebrew, and it's not cute not to be involved in the political environment in which you live. Another hot take that I have, and this, I actually asked you guys on Instagram. I shared my hot take on my story, and I put a poll up, and I asked you guys if you agree or disagree with this one. I'll put the results here because they were a little divided. I think a lot of people make aliyah for clout, because I think that they think it makes them a better Jew, a more devout person. And I also think that there are a lot of people who make aliyah for content. They just center themselves in the Israeli experience. And I think that that is cringe as fuck. And I think it's very transparent when people do that. All I'm saying is that there are some people who are inauthentic about how they present their life in Israel, and they're doing it for clout and attention. Period. Here's another thing, and a lot of people, here's my next hot take. A lot of people make aliyah because they are trying to escape their life back home. And I'm not talking about escaping anti-Semitism. That's not what I'm talking about. That is a completely valid reason to make aliyah. That's why I made aliyah when I did, because I knew that eventually what we're experiencing in the world as Jewish people and the rise of hate, and I knew that that would be knocking on our door soon enough. But you should not come here because you are trying to escape your problems back home. I think a lot of people think that when they make aliyah, it's going to solve a lot of problems. It's going to answer a lot of questions they have about their life. And that ain't true, babe. That ain't true, because everywhere you go, there you are, whether you have your shit together or not. I'm not saying that you need to have all your ducks in a row and be a perfectly healed, centered person before you make aliyah. Lord knows I wasn't. I was 23 years old when I came here. Name a fucking 23-year-old that has their shit together. Well, there's probably a couple, but it wasn't me. I'm just saying a lot of people come here to escape their problems. Some of them come to escape their addictions. I've seen that a lot. I have seen that a lot. They think that if they come to Israel and they make aliyah, they're going to somehow be healed and they're gonna be able to remove themselves from toxic environments. Girl, be so fucking for real. There were some people even on my Massah program that I know their parents sent them on their Massah program for them to dry out, and it didn't work. Here's another hot take and another piece of, I think this is a combination of a hot take and a piece of really honest advice. You should not move to this country unless you are prepared to have your heart broken. Hear me out. What do I mean by that? Life here is brutal. And I am not going to sugarcoat that in any way, especially in the last half a decade plus. Even when things were really, really awesome here, like in the late 2010s, there is always going to be a feeling that your heart is torn into at least two pieces. Part of your heart is always going to be in the country you made aliyah from, especially if you are not making aliyah with your family. And a part of you is always going to feel like your heart is here in Israel. That schism is a lot to deal with, and it never ever gets easier. I'm sure a lot of Olim can relate to this. Once you come here and you commit to your life here, you have to accept the fact that your heart will always be torn in two. And then when you live here and you experience the realistic, real life tragedies that come with living in Israel, a country that is, let's be honest, constantly at war, that will break your heart. It will also make you stronger. It will also teach you a lot. It will also be a chance for your heart to let more light and hope into the broken pieces that are shattered. But you're gonna get your heart broken, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. It's brutal. Don't wanna believe me? Find out for yourself. Another hot take, aliyah is not for everyone. It ain't. A lot of people should not. Just should not. And I know that that is kind of a crazy thing to say because we are taught and, we're meant to understand that this is the homeland of the Jewish people. And it is. Clock it. Gagged. But some people should just stay in the Upper West Side. Sorry. It ain't for everyone. There's a place in Israel for everyone, but aliyah is not for everyone. Shout out to my girl Orly who taught me that. I don't think this is a hot take. At least it shouldn't be if you've been reading the fucking news, but this place is not paradise. It is not Jewish Disneyland. And it's a real fucking shit show. It is. And if you disagree with me on that, that's fine. You're delusional, and I want some of whatever you're taking. Delusional, please. Gimme. But I think it's very easy, and I've talked about this a lot across my platforms. It's very easy to romanticize life in Israel and to think that it is a Jewish oasis and that because you're Jewish and this is the Jewish state that you're gonna automatically have the time of your life here. It ain't like that. It ain't like that at all. If you're coming here expecting it to be Cuckoo Delulu Disneyland, there's a place for you. Baka neighborhood in Jerusalem. There's a lot of people be moving to Jerusalem and going cuckoo delulu. But for those of us who live on planet Earth, I think you'll find that is not the case at all. And speaking of, one of the delusions that I quickly shattered throughout the years of living here is I truly, this is so embarrassing, but I'm going to admit it to you guys. I really thought that I was going to come here and instantly find like an amazing Jewish guy, and I would find my amazing hot prince Israeli soldier hero guy. And let me tell you, do not come here because you're trying to find solely. I'm not saying that finding a partner is not an amazing thing to have as a goal. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But if you are making aliyah for the sole purpose, which I know a lot of you bitches are. I know you are. I'm sorry, but you are. If your sole purpose of making aliyah is to get a boyfriend and a husband, girl, you are in for a rude awakening. I really can't stress that enough. Your life here is probably going to get really messy because maybe you're the exception to the rule. And I know that maybe you have a friend of a friend of a friend, and she made aliyah and she married her birthright soldier and they lived happily ever after. Many such cases, but I think that you should come here with a lot more goals and intentions than just to find a man. Don't say I didn't warn you. So those are my hot takes, and now I want to react to some of yours. A lot of you said you agree with me. Learn Hebrew. Stop living in an Anglo bubble. You can have both, but learn the language. Agree. Moving and not learning Hebrew and only staying friends with Olim isn't real life in Israel. Agree. That happens because I think the two are intrinsically linked. Not learning Hebrew is going to impact your ability to make friends with Israelis, and it is going to limit your life here. And there are people who live in that bubble, and that's them. But if you really truly want to have an integrated experience, it's part of it. A lot of people said the worst part of being in Ola is other Olim who refuse to integrate and complain nonstop. Now, I be complaining. Ani mitlonenet kol hazman. But you know what? Let me tell you something. I've earned my right to complain about this country. And who the fuck do you think I learned how to complain so well from? The Israelis, okay? When you're making legitimate complaints about and criticisms about this country because they're based in lived experience, I think, hey, Lord knows Israelis know how to complain. But when you're constantly complaining about the Olim experience and you refuse to integrate, that's ridiculous. You gotta be strong if you're gonna live here. You have to be fucking strong if you're gonna live here, okay? Hot take. Shouldn't be, but it is. Someone said, don't remove yourself completely from Olim circles. They can be helpful. Having your Olim friends who understand the shared experience of moving to this country is so important. So lean on them. But yeah, the consensus seems to be don't overly expose yourself just to Olim life. Let's talk about another category that you guys have a lot of hot takes about. Dating and relationships. I touched on that a little bit earlier. Someone agreed with me. Finding a boyfriend/girlfriend is not the missing piece in stabilizing your life as enola or enole. I could not agree with that more. I see a lot of people fall into this trap where maybe they do find a partner, especially young women who find an Israeli guy. They just rely on him for everything and don't really learn how to be independent outside of their relationship. The boyfriend's translating all the Hebrew. The boyfriend is providing all of the family experience and yes, I agree. There's so much more to aliyah than just finding a relationship. This is a hot take. The people get married later here than secular Jews in the diaspora who get married in their mid-20s. I completely disagree with that. I think in Tel Aviv, it's a city and there's a lot, like you stay single a lot longer. That's what I've done. That's something that 37 years old. I'm happily single. I'm child-free. But I think there's a lot of Israelis who get married young because a lot of people meet in the army when they're in their early 20s and stay together. I know a lot of people who met in the army and they've been with their partner. It's like high school sweethearts here is army sweethearts. So I kind of disagree with that one, especially because, have you heard of Haredim? I don't know who you're talking about that people get married later here. Okay, the next batch topic of controversial opinions has to do with war and security and all of that stuff. So a lot of people said it's safer in Israel than in the US. My reaction to that is this. I feel like being a Jew in 2026, not an anti-Zionist Jew, because you guys can just fuck off. I feel like we are stuck between a rock and a hard place and the walls are kind of closing in. I used to feel a lot safer in Israel than I did in the US. But have you guys seen what's going on with teenagers and the rise in violence in this country? Have you ever heard of SSQ? Look it up. Educate yourself. I personally, in the last, especially since October 7th, I'm not even talking about terrorists, okay? I feel a lot less safe in Tel Aviv because there is a lot of crime, there is a lot of violence, and that's just a fact. I don't know. I don't think it's up to me to say where it's safer or where it isn't because my experience over the last 15 years has been here in Israel. I have not really lived as a Jewish person in the US in 15 years. So I can understand why people feel that. Like sometimes it does feel like, at least in Israel, you know where the threats are coming from. You know what to do when you're under attack. In the US, it could be your coworker. It could be your professor. It could be someone sitting next to you at a restaurant that hears you speaking Hebrew or wearing a Magen David and they just choose to beat on your ass. So I don't know. That's kind of my take on that one. I don't know if there's really is a safe place for Jews in 2026. Hot take. Hey. Someone said, if you move here and are immediately scared off by war, then this just isn't for you. Well, yeah. Another follow-up take to that. People here think it's not okay to be scared of the war. People think it makes you less Israeli to be scared. I agree with that. And I think that it's a toxic defense mechanism that a lot of us have developed where we try to be fearless all the time because our reality is so entangled with war and it is such a part of our lives. And I do think there is a bit of gaslighting that goes on where if you express that you're exhausted from the war, then it's like, well, buck up because that's Israel. And I think that that's bad. Someone said there should be a mandatory 2 days off work to get back to normal once a ceasefire is signed. I agree. I think we need more than 2 days. I think we need like 5 fucking years of therapy. Because what? The next topic of hot takes that you guys shared is cost of living and economy, bureaucracy. Someone said, living in Israel is all fun and games until your parents aren't paying for all your shit. Yeah, I let me just tell you guys something right now. I don't come from a rich family. I come from very humble beginnings, okay? Two very hardworking parents. They would do anything they could to make sure I was okay, and I'm so grateful for my parents. But I do know a lot of Olim who are here and they're supported by their parents. It's really hard because I never had that reality where my parents were bankrolling my existence here. I came here, I immediately had a job, and it's hard because there are a lot of Olim who come here and their parents are paying their rent. They're hanging out at the beach all day. They don't have a job. And that can be a really frustrating experience because it's going to make you feel like shit about yourself if you're, working in a restaurant on tips trying to survive here and like busting your ass because it's so fucking expensive here. But yeah, I mean, that's a reality. That's a reality. Someone said the bureaucracy is bad, but it's not that bad. I do think it is that bad. The bureaucracy in this country, hot take, here's another controversial opinion, can sometimes be lethal. I really do. I really think the political bureaucracy, the systemic bureaucracy can make it so that people are not able to live life to the fullest. And I think that we'll get it done later, or akol yeh beseder, everything will be okay, or just push it off to the next person mentality. When it gets to, governmental levels, it can be lethal. And I do think it is that bad. I do think it gets a little fucking annoying though to hear Olim complain about it all the time. Making aliyah, becoming an immigrant is a bureaucratic experience, and it's just part of it. Trust me, there are times when I have dealt with institutions here like the bank or whatever it may be where I have wanted to rip my fucking hair out because it's so frustrating. But complaining about it all the time is just pointless. This is a good take. I like this one. I agree with this one. Being an ole is inherently a little cringe. We're cringe. We're cringe. It's part of it. And you know what? I just want to say, like, anytime you do something remarkable, anytime you pursue a passion, a goal, a dream, there is part of that is going to be cringe. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to sound stupid. You're going to look stupid. You're not going to know what's going on. And that can feel a little cringeworthy. Embrace the cringe because there's no other way to live life. Life is cringe. Life is cringe. And therefore, the aliyah experience and being an ole or an ala is cringe. I agree with that. I agree. Maybe this person is subtly throwing shade at me. Someone said, I don't do this anymore. I don't do this anymore. But someone said, I think those aggressively pushing for aliyah are so annoying. Guilty. I used to do that. A lot of my approach and opinions about aliyah have changed a lot since October 7th. A lot. And I can say, I truly don't think, this is hard. Let me just say this. I don't envy anybody who has to make aliyah right now. I don't, because the aliyah, the Israel that you are making aliyah to is not the same Israel that I made aliyah to in 2011. It's simply fucking not. And I used to do so much content. Aliyah Big Sister. I named myself that. And I would do all these advice videos about things you need to know about aliyah. And I am still very proud of that content. And I have so many people write to me or come up to me and say, I made aliyah because of you. And I'm like, I'm sorry I did that to you. I think that just make aliyah because things for Jews in the diaspora are shitty is an oversimplification, and I don't think that is a holistic solution because that is simply not going to work for everyone. And that's kind of a scary reality to think that, there's so many Jews in the diaspora who are going to be experiencing the increasingly rising anti-Semitism, but I don't think that aliyah is the answer to everything. I really don't. Unless you are going to come here and integrate and make a life here and make a difference and come here, it's like the campsite rule, okay? You leave it better than when you came. I think that's a good rule of thumb for anybody thinking about making aliyah. And that can mean anything. It doesn't mean that you have to become some kind of hero, but it could mean you volunteer, or you contribute to your community, or you make just an effort to learn Hebrew and educate yourself about what it means to be Israeli. You don't have to do heroic things in order to contribute to the society here. But if you're coming here just to fucking party and escape your life and sit at the beach all day, keep your ass in Miami. What are you doing here? All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. I also want you to feel free to share some of your controversial opinions in the comments of this video. Keep it civil, please. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thank you so much to everybody who shared your controversial opinions. Let me know if you agree with them. Share some of yours in the comments. This has been another episode of Show and Tel Aviv, where I show you something about life in Tel Aviv and tell you what you need to know about it. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure and subscribe to my channel for more videos, for more hot takes. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. You said what? Okay. This is so embarrassing. This is cringe. It is cringe. Whoever said that is right. Goodbye.